Hello and welcome to Exquisite You. My name is Drumil. In the series of podcasts, we have been talking to some amazing doctors across India whose journey is very, very inspiring. And I'm sure today's interview is going to be something that you're going to remember for a life. With me, I have Dr. Girija Wagh from Pune. She's a gynac. She has an experience of more than 32 years. She's been a teacher. She's a researcher. She's the current VP of Foxy, the Vice President. She's been associated with Bharatiya Vidyapith University Medical College, Maharashtra, and there is so much more that we're going to know about her. Please welcome Dr. Girija Wagh.
Hello.
How are you, ma'am?
I'm fine today. Thank you so much, Dhruval.
Ma'am, as I know about your childhood, it started from a very small town which was close to Shirdi, and you have very fond memories. Please tell us about your childhood. Were you born there?
No, I was born in Ahmednagar district.
Okay.
Born to a teenage mother, and I was myself a premature baby, and born in the family hospital. But I remember that wasn't a specialist gynecologist at all. That time they were birthing assistants, and that's how I was born. My mother had to travel a distance from her native to give birth to me in this city because she went into labor a little early than expected. And this is how I was born as a premature baby by a breech presentation, which is known to happen in preemies, that is premature babies, and that was in the Nagar district. Soon after that, my parents chose to go to America because my dad got a very wonderful opportunity there in the Ohio University, Cincinnati.
And he was a physicist himself.
Yes, physicist. He was a chemical physician specialist. His publication is there on the net, I saw, and I was surprised to see that it's still there, and that's such a wonderful thing.
Wow.
And he did a research on 1-carbon metabolism, which eventually I also pursued in association with my subject later on in life.
Wow.
Not the same, but in the context of women's health.
Amazing. So it was a brilliant childhood. I think education was always at the forefront.
Absolutely.
Within the family. Your father leading the entire bandwagon. How were you inspired by him with the kind of work that he did? Firstly in the US, where he was invited, and then he decided to come back to this small place to benefit the society.
See, one of the most important things that struck me most about my father was he came from a very humble background. He had difficult times because he had lost his father at a very young age. And he could see the hardships of his mother to bring them up. They were in all about 8 to 9 children. And through that, my father's mother, like my dadi, always told him that education is the only solution to this. And he kept on pursuing that education with a lot of difficulties. Like my father's life is hugely inspiring. And then when he chose, and I'm surprised, they never went to English school. They went to a simple school, but yet, if you could listen to the speeches that he gave in Marathi or English later on when he headed various organizations, they were absolutely in fluent language. Wow. Absolute fluent English, command on the language. So that all was self-reading, self-development. That's what I would always say. He didn't have to go to any classes. He read a lot of books. And that was very inspiring. That despite, and my mother naturally came from a very, very abundant background.
Okay.
And they chose to marry her to this man only because of his character, because that was very important. Even if he came from a humble background, all of them felt he had a lot of promise. And then therefore, when he was studying there in US itself, when the calling came, when these people asked them that we want a principal here, my father decided to come back. And this was actually an act of gratitude as well, because this particular organization was headed that time by Padma Shri V.K. Patil, a great visionary. And when my dad went to US, he had given him a loan at the rate of 1% interest that time. My dad was constantly indebted with that gesture. And when they decided to develop this place, he said, yes, I'll come back, and he became the first principal of that college.
And leaving everything.
Leaving everything else. He would have become the doctorate of science, DSc in France was his selection which he had got. But he chose to come back because he felt my place requires people who are like me, who are able to educate. And the entire principle of that Pravara institution was to enhance teaching in the rural parts of the country. So Daddy had executed a lot of such projects there. Kamvashika is something like you work and then you earn. So all the fabrication units, gardening, everything of the entire that thing was done by students who came from very, very poor places. You can just imagine that even the people, the staffers who were working there were not trained. My dad used to go and train them hands-on. How to speak, how to talk, how to attire, how to behave, because later on he had very great connections with the University Grand Commission. So many people recognized their work. Then people of very high cadre used to come to our institutions. Even Mrs. Indira Gandhi had visited once. So he had to train all these people to be, in their P's and Q's and general. And then that was always very inspiring. I felt that he can create something without anything. So if I am in such a wonderful background, I can go places. Why can't I?
Absolutely, absolutely.
So that was the reason why it always gave me that impetus. No, I have to study, I have to do well, I have to excel in whatever I do.
But also, see, this is a lot of boys' dream, I'm telling you, to go even for a day in a girls' school. You studied in a boys' school. How does that happen?
That was a privilege, and I'm very happy about that privilege, because my dad eventually became the joint secretary of the same education society.
All right.
There was a girls' school there, but which was all in Marathi, and my parents wanted me to learn English. So there was only this Pravra Public School, which was an exclusively boys' school, and the management decided that they can give us permission to learn. So the principal, who also happened to be my mom's uncle, and me, his daughter and me, we were the two first entrants in that school.
Wow.
So we were just two of us, and the entire class was of boys. So it was nice to learn. So I learned about men and boys a little more, how they think, how they behave.
And how they don't think.
Yeah. They don't think, I didn't decide to bother. Okay. But how they think was very important, because that helped me later on in my life. Okay. I think they are more focused. They have brains which are made of boxes. They are not as wired as women's brains are.
Absolutely.
And they think a little more clearly, and they are less emotional. And that's very important, because finally it's the man's world. It's not, you shouldn't take it otherwise. You should look at it as an asset. It's very important. I always tell my patients, my students who come in difficulty, look at the next man who is there in your life. It may be your brother, father, your teacher, mentor, whoever. Look at them, how they think. And that's the way to go forwards. Not moping and generally, thinking that you are not able or not capable. Many times we underestimate our strengths.
We do.
But then men are very inspiring, because they will not get into the complex thinking. Straight. And that time it was more appreciative also. They were very appreciative about us, because we were a very rare species in the school.
Absolutely. Even more than the mechanical engineers.
Absolutely. The staff meetings used to be on Saturdays. There used to be a long break. When we used to come back again, our bags would be full of cheats. Lot of love letters written to us. We didn't know who were writing those. Sometimes chocolates. We had
felt
fun.
Special.
Yeah, absolutely. We felt very special.
But then medicine happened because of a little peer pressure. You actually wanted to be a nuclear scientist. But then you decided to study medicine.
Yeah, because I was influenced by Marie Curie and the Nobel Prize she won, and the way she thought and the way she worked against all odds. And I felt that if I'm so brilliant, as I get so many great marks and my teachers always are in praise about me, why not become a scientist? But then it was told to me that it is of no great social utility. If you want to serve the community, it is better that you be a doctor. And that time you are very vulnerable, you are very young, you don't have really, and you follow your peers, especially your teachers, your mentors. They are the ones who guide you. And then I found meaning in that as well. I felt, okay, fine. But then when I really scored those great marks in 12th standard,
you topped it?
Yes, I topped it. I topped the board, and I could easily get admission into anything that I wanted that time. But then I told my father I want to do fisheries. And he knew that I probably am just playing a game just to find out what he wants to say. And finally we took admission in the BJ Medical College, Sassoon General Hospitals in Pune. That time we used to get only in the government medical schools. It was going to be quite a tough thing, leaving your comfort of your home and going to stay in a medical school in Pune, in a government setup. It's terrible. The hostels, the food, security issues, a lot of things are there. But I think getting an opportunity overcomes all these small things.
Right.
And that was just at a young, tender age of 18, 19. It's not easy to get out of the comforts of your home, but I think the social climate that time was much more secure than what is today. And of course, we did have a lot of challenges. Those were overcome by just grit and strength, because every time then I used to go through problems. I used to remember what my dad has done, what my mother has done, what Marie Curie did. That always inspired me. Despite there not being any warm water to have baths, food being terrible, there used to be a lot of bullying.
Yeah, in those days,
Seniors'
yes.
pressures. But then it was always a goal sort of thing. No, I have to deliver. It was never that I have to run away from here. Never. Running away was in the form of having a chocolate ice cream.
I was actually coming to that. Chocolate ice cream was your escape route.
Absolutely. Every day, after 5 o'clock when I used to come, I used to just plank my bag in my room and go walking to East Street and have 5.50 rupees, I remember, chick choc ice cream. Every day, every single day in the first year.
Do you remember a day when you actually had an ice cream and you cried?
Yeah, I used to mope that time. In the beginning, I used to cry a lot. I used to eat there and eat that ice cream and cry. But then I used to come back again. And I learned from those small lessons that finally all your emotions, your happinesses, sorrows are your own.
That's true.
There's nobody to share them with you. I didn't want to trouble my parents that time, because we were going through a very difficult time with my mother having lost her father. That was just before my 12th standard exams, and I was very close to my Nana. And she just lost him suddenly to a heart attack where they could just do nothing. And she suffered a huge mental trauma after that. She just couldn't overcome that. And I knew what my dad was going through, a lot of struggle. Everybody else, my rest of my brothers and sisters, we are 5 of us. They were small. And I didn't want to trouble them. I didn't want to tell my dad what I'm going through, because I knew that it will add to a problem. And I knew that I need to cope up with myself. I was very lucky to have 2 or 3 very good friends that time. And they are my lifelong friends till today.
Wow.
So they were one was from Dhule and one was from Nashik. These 2 classmates of mine whom we connected to very quickly.
You're still the best of friends.
They are best of my friends, still. One of them is in Nashik still, the other one is in US.
How amazing. Going a little forward in life, leadership was supposed to come because of the background you have seen of your father. And now being the vice president of Foxy, which is the most celebrated organization in the country, wherein you influence policies, you tell people to make changes.
Sure.
How has this tenure been like?
So the tenure of becoming vice president starts now. It's just the second day. But till now, if you're...
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. But talking of leadership, I think it got nurtured from very childhood times. First and foremost, leadership starts with being a leader of your own life, which started very early. I learned very early in life, I think being the eldest daughter in the family, and this was probably spoken to me directly or indirectly, that if you lead, the rest will follow. That was my dad's word always. My mother used to say, if you educate yourself to the highest, the entire world will be at your feet. So these were always inspiring things. And my father used to always say that, you have to just overcome whatever it is. you make your destiny. So therefore, I think the leadership first starts with taking ownership of your own life. That is the first step in leadership. Then I was always, into debate competitions. Somehow, I don't know how. I had a huge stage fear, you'll not believe it. I used to feel my heart coming in my mouth, my heart beating with palpitations. I could sometimes hear it, but still I used to debate. Still I used to give talks. I don't know how. But that debating was one thing. Essays I used to write a lot as a child. I used to write, like my principal, my own Anna, used to say, cut those sentences. You are writing sentences, paragraphs of sentences. My sentences would never stop. I used to love to write. And then it so happened that when we came into Girija Medical College, gradually with my friends I started becoming bolder. So we became milk secretaries in the hostel. That is one, that's one very nice thing. We used to,
secret?
Not a secret. It's a milk secretary means you are supposed to supply milk to the entire hostel.
Okay.
Okay, so there's a agency, you collect money from the hostelites and then you pay him and then he serves and then you ensure that it is distributed. Now, when you do such a job, we used to get our own first choice of the room in the next room distribution. So that is the reason why that friend of mine and I decided that we'll become milk secretaries. So we started becoming very assertive. We were recognized as a force to reckon. So ladies hostel, Girija and Nita. It was like that. I was very coy actually. But then we debated during, I remember there was another friend of mine now, she's in UK. We decided to host a debate competition in all the 3 languages during the Ganesh festival. That was in my second MBBS. And there was a Marathi, Hindi and an English debate. And that time we had decided to speak on reservations. And the debate was stopped. The principals of our college, Ferguson College, everybody came and they said, you are not going to do this debate. Just the night before, we changed the topic to brain drain. Because it was a very sensitive issue that time as well. Right. So therefore we never spoke about that. But again then I remember we got sponsorships. We went to doctors, some Coca-Cola company and all, and got sponsorships and created all this. And then later on it started for me during my internship, like I wanted to, there was a changeover during my internship actually in my heart. I always wanted to do surgery. Okay. Because my father was extremely awed with Madam Mehta, who was a very famous surgeon that time. And apparently he was operated by her. And he always looked at me and said, I want you to be like Mehta Madam. And then I did this internship in the mission hospital in Shrampur. It's a St. Luke's hospital. Those missionaries were hugely inspiring, the way they did their work. And gradually I saw there were 2 more colleagues of mine who were more inclined to surgery. And there you could get admissions only with merit. So we were all the top brass who had got good marks in MBBS who were there. And I said, one day when the laparotomy was being done, I saw that surgeon, he was a young surgeon who had just come there as a consultant. He opened that patient nearly 6 or 7 times over a period of a week. Every time they used to do some AP resection, lot of anatomy to study and here and there. And I said, wow, this is so complex. And then I said, no, I'm going to become a gynecologist. It's more physiological, it's more gifting. You're delivering a baby, you're ensuring that the mother is safe. Most of the times it's physiology which is taking over. And you are really trying to elevate women, and that's where I started getting this connect with this subject. And I called my father. That time we used to do trunk calls.
Yes.
I said, Dad, I won't become Madam Mehta, but I'll try to become Banu Koyaji, if you don't mind. She was another iconic figure in Pune who did a lot of work in gynec. He said, do whatever makes you happy. And that's why, so as I told you, leadership about your own thinking, yes. You should never waver. And this also comes from that one of the biographies I read about Marie Curie. When she decided to leave home and go for studies, her father gave her advice. So whenever you stand on a road and have a question, whether I take this road or that road, The moment there is a question, don't take any road.
Okay.
When you are automatically getting driven to that, just go ahead. And that's a very priceless advice, I feel, which always guided my life.
Oh, amazing. And how did you meet your partner?
That was interesting. That was in the second year. First year itself, we knew each other, we were good friends. But I think we started becoming serious about each other from second year because we started fighting a lot. And it was automatically decided that eventually we'll become partners. I don't know, we never said the vows, we never said no proposition. It automatically went
It's
into
an understanding.
understanding. My parents know he was a very good friend. But all the same, when in the final year, not in the final year, during my internship, when I decided to say it in so many words, they said, wait, we'll have to see. So it didn't happen easily, but then it was, we had chosen each other, and then it turned into an arranged marriage when both the families accepted it. And during my end of my first year residency, we got married. So he was one of my besties. Unfortunately, he's no more now. We lost him about 3-4 years back. But that was a wonderful time because I think we grew together. He was an orthopedician, and it was a wonderful relationship in the sense that it's very nice to have friendship in your love relationship as well. You cannot ask for more. It's simply awesome.
Oh, amazing. Ma'am, you've done so much for the society. Now the presidency of yours begins. There's so much more work that you're going to do for this 1 year. What is the kind of legacy you want to leave behind? Because I see there are so many people who inspired you, whether they were the missionary staff at the hospital, Madame Curie, your own father, your teachers and seniors in medicine. You looked up to them, the way they dressed, the way they spoke. What is the kind of legacy you want to leave behind so that people get inspired from you?
I want to leave a legacy, especially for women as well as men, because I have 2 sons. That, you have to constantly stand with strength in face of anything that comes your way. And you should always maintain a smiling countenance. That doesn't mean that you should have a facade. I don't see that you have to be lying. You have to feel it from inside. You have to always feel that strength inside. You should always feel fearless. You should always feel powerful. You may not emanate it in so many words. You may not be very bossy or assertive while you are happening, but that's happening inside you. But that's where you must be like a strong pillar of strength all the time. You should not unnecessarily become a weakling and get boggled down by things. And this is something which I always speak to my students as well. And I'm very, very blessed with a large number of students that I was exposed to through my association with Bharati Vidyapith University Medical College for a good 32 years. So I've trained so many MBBS students and quite a lot of postgraduate students. And they have been instrumental in making me what I am today. Because when we used to take feedbacks, they used to always tell me, Madam, we want to be like you.
Wow.
So being like me was something that I asked myself, what does this mean? And then I realized that it is being strong in all kinds of odds. Keep on giving all the time, contributing in whatever little way. And then this amalgamated into, at around a decade back, I wrote my own vision of my life. And in that, one of the things that I have read is that I will constantly strive towards women's health, mental as well as physical, in whichever way I can. Now, I'm not a very, a rich person like an industrialist or something who can just give donations anywhere. So how can I do this? I'm quite busy in my work. I have clinical practice, I have teaching association. So then I realized that every session that I do in my consultation, every patient who comes, after I have done the consultation job, I'll give her an additional value to something. For example, there is a new bride to be who's come, I've done my clinical work, I'll just generally talk to her. What do you think marriage is all about? Or a young couple has come, they're not married, indulge into a physical relationship, they get into problems and then they come to us. So then I ask them, what do you think this association is? What is this relationship all about? And I make them talk and I speak to them. And there's so many such buddies I have world over who love to come and talk to me about these things and personal things, who have said that I've shown them a right path.
Wow.
And made them think and realize what their role is in this community. Each one of us has come here with a purpose, and we should continuously be in consciousness context of that purpose. And we have to do. I gaye, like he came and went, is not what. Little bit you must give back, and that little bit is this: be confident and fearless. I'm actually writing a book for women on fearless. My book's name is Fearless.
And that's such a brilliant point to end this conversation, because now we have a part 2, and that is going to be your book, to know more about you and about being fearless. Thank you so much, Girija ma'am. It was a pleasure having you.
Thank you so much.
So much inspired by you, and more power to you.
Thank you so much.